Okay, we are live. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you were here in the moment, as I'm joined here with Jeffrey McMahon, really excited to have him. In the comments, shout out where you're watching from. I'd like to shout out a few of you, and then I've talked with Jeff. We have some topics we're going to talk about together. To discuss, but I think maybe at the end we'll take a few questions if you have something that you're burning to ask Jeff about or myself. So I see Nello 5280 is here, James Duffy's here, Young XLNC is in, Craig. We got Scott Wexlin here, Watch Lounge. Chris is checking in, so it's great to see you guys here. Watchdog Podcast, Tennessee Mike, Cardona, Pablo. We've got some. We got some people tuning in, so welcome here. I'm really glad you guys are here. And for those of you maybe watching this in the future, I know there's probably going to be a couple thousand views on this. You're not here in real time. Let me introduce Jeff. Jeff, he's had a channel, I don't know, 6 or so years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
I remember when I was getting heavy into watches, I'd watch Jeffrey. I'd watch... and he's not around anymore. Johnny Casual, you remember him?
Well, he's the one who told me to transition from my blog to video, and so I would have to give him the credit for pushing me out of my little dinosaur technology into the video world. I mean, I'm not like Bruce Williams has, your grade A watch photogenic video quality. I'm just some dinosaur in the cave, snorting like a thing from the Addams Family.
Yeah, so it was you and Johnny that I would watch the most of, I think, and really enjoyed your guys' channels, and I'll brag about you a little bit, Jeff. I relate to you your rambles. You don't do a ton of like dedicated reviews of various Seikos and Citizens, but every time you're talking about a topic, maybe being a watch obsessive or something, I get sucked in because I'm right there with you. I relate to all the things that you say. I think you relate harsh truths sometimes that come up in this hobby, but you do it in a relatable way. You sprinkle in a little bit of dry humor, and I love it. So if I had to pick one channel that does watch related content, I think you got the best one. And guys, if you're tuning in later, if you're watching right now, if you haven't subbed to Jeff yet, you definitely need to subscribe to his channel. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, that's a little introduction, at least from my perspective, Jeff.
Well, Bruce, can I address two things you said that were very insightful? Okay,
you bet.
Number one, there's no way I'm going to spend time on my channel doing detailed watch spec reviews, because there are people doing that at such a higher level that I don't feel like I have anything to offer, and I hate being repetitive or redundant on any kind of channel. Why would I do such a thing? So that's number one. Number two, I really appreciate what you said about my rants. The way I see watch addiction, watch obsession, there's a lot of joy in it and a lot of fascination, to be sure. But a lot of times I'm just drowning, and I'm trying to analyze, why am I drowning? Why am I in a situation where I can't find any resolution? And I want to give you guys a paradox, and I think you guys might agree with me. You ready for this, Bruce?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think I understand everything about my watch obsession and everything about my watch addiction on one hand, and on the other hand, I know nothing about it. I mean, I could write you a 100-page essay on why I'm addicted and obsessed with watches, and you go, wow, McMahon's smart. He breaks it down. Look at that granular analysis. And then I could tell you, I don't even know why I'm drawn, why I could stare at a watch all day long. What the heck is that?
And that's one of the reasons why we love your channel, because you're not pretentious. You're just straight up honest, and we can relate to that because we're all swimming, I think, to a degree, some more than others in the hobby. Yeah, drowning. Yeah, trying to keep our heads above water and trying to understand the obsessive, nature of collecting watches, mechanical pieces of jewelry.
Can I ask you a question about YouTube channels?
Yeah.
Would you agree with me that there's probably two types of channels for two types of audiences if we had to do a macro in the most general way? There are those channels that are high with BS, and there's an audience that actually enjoys the BS. And then there are
Yes.
other channels that have a disdain for BS. They're real, they're authentic, and that's what the audience is craving, that genuine connection with the authentic.
I 100% agree. And I don't know. I think a lot of the largest channels, there's a lot of BS and there's a lot of show and tradition. And I don't know. I don't think there's enough channels out there that are real genuine to the heart of it,
Yeah.
you know?
Can I say something that might make you feel hopeful about the human race?
Yeah.
I've been teaching college English, college writing for 35 years. And my students, they show up to freshman composition at various levels of grammatical and writerly aptitude. But I want to tell you something, Bruce, that you may find encouraging. 99.99% of all my students over the last 35 years, they have a very sensitive radar for BS. And if, as a teacher, if you're authentic, they really, really appreciate it.
Hmm.
And the professors who are full of it and who try to act like they're amazing and they put down the students, they are not liked by the students.
I imagine they don't get very good reviews at the end of the term.
Well, that's fascinating. I remember in 2005, I was working out at the local gym here, and this young woman was on the Stairmaster next to me. She goes, "Oh, yeah, you're McMahon. I'm taking you next semester." This is 2005 at LA Fitness. And I go, "What? How do you know about me?" "I read about you on Rate My Professor."
It's
So
awesome.
you're right, man. Reviews are just unbelievable. I have a family member who's going through a tragic physical illness,
Uh-huh.
and there are a team of physicians and specialists looking at his illness. You know what he told me this morning on the phone?
Let's hear it.
He's sending the name of these specialists to his friend who has his wife has a very advanced form of cancer, and
Uh-huh.
he's going to do an analysis, a review of my relative's team of physicians. It's like we live in a review obsessed world.
Yeah.
Everything
No,
gets reviewed, even your
we
physician.
we just finished out the room that I'm in pretty recently within the past couple months. And we're doing the same thing. We're recommending the contractor that we had that did the work. We're like, all right, you guys got to use this, Sahara contractors, ask for this guy. I think, yeah, I definitely see that across multiple industries for sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the new normal.
Hey, I want to ask you, since you mentioned that you teach college level English literature, my favorite film director, is Christopher Nolan. He's done some really good stuff. He did the Dark Knight trilogy. Most people are most familiar with that. But then my favorite stuff is what he wrote himself, like Inception, Interstellar, and the most recent one, Tenet, that I think is
How do you
coming
spell
out.
tenant? How do you spell that?
It's Tenet. What's that called? A palindrome?
Okay, tenant.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
Tenet.
it's a palindrome. Oh, I got to see it now. I want to. I've heard the name. I've never seen any of those movies, and I want to
Uh,
watch Tenet.
so the thing that I love about Nolan is he's self-taught. He didn't go to film school. He majored in English literature, and I wonder if that has a big influence on why he's so good, because he understands logic and thought process and telling a good story. And there's so much depth, I think, to his work. And I think I see that some in your content. I know you say you're not into, the production level. Maybe you
Yeah,
call yourself an amateur, but I see the logic come through. I see when you tell a story, I'm
yeah.
there the whole time. I'm not tuning out. I'm not in and out. I follow you, and I think you have that talent there. So I wonder how much of that comes down to understanding logic and
That's a
all that
great
stuff.
question. That's a great question. So I look at YouTube the way cavemen looked at the fire. We
Okay.
go to YouTube the way back in primitive days, the cavemen, we would hang out at the fire and we would tell stories. we would tell stories about, dude, I had a close brush with a pterodactyl, man. Almost snatched my brontosaurus burger, man. And because when you go to the fire for storytelling, that's the place, man, where the truth is going to be spoken. Because like in our everyday life, we're little pencil neck bureaucrat geeks. We got to act all polite and have manners and decorum, and then we got to follow the rules. But there's a time and place, man. We want to hear the real stuff, man. We want to go to the fire and tell the stories. And so I think YouTube and I think your channel and Rob's, you guys are telling the real stories. I like, there's all these watches and there's all these fancy watch stores and there's this fancy watch language. And now we have this new movement with a 48-hour reserve exclusive, blah, blah, blah. But you know what, man, people want to know the real stuff. Like Rob goes, dude, this Seiko that I spent $500 on, the crown's too long. It's not even waterproof. We're going to the fire to hear that story. We want to know the truth. Bruce Williams says, dude, this bezel's jacked, man. It's not even lined up, man. I'm telling you the truth, man. And I think that's what we do.
Yeah. And I guess it goes back to the authenticity. Like you're not just presenting something for the sake of presenting. You want to share an authentic, valid opinion that could be helpful to someone. Because that's how I started watching watch channels is, hey, I'm researching a watch that I want to buy. I want to learn everything about it, whether it's from, a kind of a corporate feel like a blog to watch, or some guy that just bought it and he's in his honeymoon and he's talking about, hey, how great this bezel action is or something. I wanted to hear it all. And so that's kind of where I came from and consuming watch content. But now I rarely watch content. I mean, I try to catch most of your videos. I catch some of Robert's, some of Mark Goldberg. But I find when I'm on YouTube, when I'm around the campfire, I'm looking at other stuff that it's not even watch related.
What do you look at?
The most recent one I found is called Ghost Town Living. And it's some guy that bought an abandoned gold mine in California, Cerro Gordo. And it's just him blogging about trying to fix it up and exploring some of the mines and going camping and stuff around this mine. It's fascinating. So I've been watching a lot of that recently. Really good stuff. I'll have to send you the link to his channel.
That's cool. I'm glad you're not just myopic tunnel vision watches. I look at a lot of computer tech. I'm fascinated by laptops, monitors, and things of that nature. So I spend a lot of time with nutrition. I was doing it, but once you figure out that you should not eat sugar and processed foods, you really don't need to look at nutrition anymore.
Yeah. And how are you doing? Because I kind of have a story. Let's see, it was February of last year. I was just mentally ready to be more healthy. So I made changes to my diet. I cut my intake. I started eating good stuff, and I dropped 50 pounds.
That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah. Well, over the past month, I think I've got about 5 back because I've been less strict. I need to get back on the wagon here a little bit. Holiday season was rough.
What's your breakfast, Bruce?
I don't eat breakfast.
Okay.
I guess it's called the intermittent fasting, but I try to either eat 2 or 1 meal a day, and try to eat less meat, cut out the processed stuff. And I feel great when I do it. I really do.
You want to hear something crazy? My buddy's a United States Marine. His name's Jimmy. He's 6'5", 280 pounds. He's got MMA fighting skills. He's a beast. He moved to Grant Line, Oregon. He lives by a river. And his wife got him to be a raw vegan for 6 days. He said, no, I can't do it. He eats 2 meals a day. He eats steak with 3 eggs for breakfast at 5:30 a.m. Then he eats a big piece of venison or a salmon steak with 3 more eggs at lunch, and he eats nothing else. He doesn't even eat dinner. And he weighs 280, and he's all muscle. I couldn't do that, but I'm glad he's
I tell you what, I could eat salmon every day of my life and be happy. It would be awful, but for me. But I grew up in Alaska, so good salmon, good halibut. I mean, good. I know it's not exactly venison, but reindeer. I love caribou.
What about bear? Do you eat bear?
I tried bear once, and it was really gamey, really gristly, and I did never want to try it again. So No.
Yeah, I want to be a vegan, but I would end up eating about 10 meals a day and probably eating about 500 carbs a day. I can't, it's hard for me to get full on a
No.
vegan diet.
Both my grandparents are vegan. They've been vegan for about a decade now. They've really enjoyed doing it.
No, I respect that a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
Joe Rogan won't eat farm factory animals, but I mean, he's essentially using a bow and arrow to kill his own game.
I have a neighbor that does the same thing, except
Yeah.
they don't. Whenever they make like burgers or something, it's never cow. It's always elk or deer that they've caught themselves.
Yeah.
And they've had us over a few times, and well, in the past, not. I guess it's been about a year and a half, but man, super good actually. Love a good elk
I know.
burger.
What's your blood type, Bruce?
Oh, I have it written down. I can't remember. It's the kind that it's fairly uncommon, and I can be a donor for almost anybody. Is that O?
Then you're probably me, O positive.
That's it. Yep, it's O
So
positive.
what I've read is that O positive blood is the most primitive of all the blood types, and we do really well on a carnivore diet.
Hmm.
No grain,
Huh.
no grain, no starch.
Yeah.
Heavy beef eating.
Have you found, Jeff, that having an obsessive personality has helped with your diet and with working out? I know you do a lot of kettlebell workouts and such.
Yeah, I've been working out regularly since I was 12. I was an Olympic weightlifter in middle school. Actually, it was called Earl Warren Junior High School. And so I don't think I've gone without working out since 1974. I have to work out or I'll go crazy.
Wow.
So I think I have OCD. I want the perfect watch collection. I want everything just so. I'm going to sell both of my Seiko tunas because they have hard legs. I'm going to get the sapphire version. Then my life will be perfect. Blah, blah, blah. No. So as far as food goes, I eat clean. I love to eat clean. I don't eat processed foods. I don't eat bread. I don't eat pasta. I don't eat ice cream. I'm still huge because I have the appetite of a high school football player.
Yeah.
And when I was getting skinny in the summer of 2018, when I was down to 200, I was eating, 70 carbs a day. And I'm eating double that now, and I weigh 220. But you know what? My quality of life, I'm not a model. I'm not doing billboard modeling. So, and I'm 59 years old. I just want to be healthy and have my cholesterol low. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a billboard Instagram hot bod and weigh 198. That's not happening. But I for my pride and my self-esteem and my health, I do eat clean.
Yeah. Well, also, I don't know, at least this was part of my motivation last year when I decided to make some changes I want to come home and have energy. I would be getting home and my little girls would want to play and I just want to sit on the couch because I'd had a long day, and I realized that after I started eating better, like, man, I had energy all the, I'd come home. Yeah. Let's go on a walk. Let's go on a little hike. Let's do stuff. And I want my kids' quality of life to be better, because I'm around to do stuff with them and I want to do stuff with them and stuff, so.
No, I agree. I mean, you're going to get a bad back, bad knee, sleep apnea, neuropathy in your feet if you get too heavy.
Yeah.
It's easier just to enjoy eating clean and not dealing with all the health deficits of uncontrollable eating or eating the Western diet of processed food and sugar is absolutely disgusting. It's not even an option if you stare at it squarely. So no, I'm thankful that I'm educated. I'm food literate. And a lot of people aren't. I know a lot of people who do not know how to steam broccoli. You know what I mean?
Well, they got to learn some point, right? Whether they're forced to later on down the road or not.
Everyone needs food literacy, And
hey, I caught.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I caught in one of your recent videos that you read to your twins every night.
I do.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah. I love that.
So what happens was, I was telling my wife, my girls are 10 and a half years old. And I was thinking I was going to quit doing this and have them read on their own. But I noticed something about the ritual of reading to my daughters every night. when I'm done reading, they call it, let's now have our chat. That's what they call it. It's
I
time
love
for our
it.
chat.
Yeah.
And so I said to my wife, I'm going to keep doing this because they're lost on their electronics all day, and they get lost in all these computer games. I think it's called Robux or Roblox. I don't know what it is.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that I have this connection with them on a ritual, I'm just going to keep it going. And my wife, she vehemently agreed with me. So we're gonna keep doing it until they get sick of me, until they kick me out of their room.
I love it to death, man. I've got a 7-year-old. She'll be 8 this summer, and then I have a 3-year-old that will be 4 this summer.
Yeah.
And the 4-year-old isn't into reading. She doesn't have the attention span to listen to the stories yet. But my 7-year-old, I read to her every night. And we've been reading Roald Dahl books, if you're familiar with that
Love
author.
Roald Dahl. I mean, he changed my life. Some
Yeah.
of my piano songs are reactions to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were at Costco and I saw a collection of 16 of his books. And I hadn't read all of them. I remember a few of them from when I was a kid. And I said, all right, we're going to buy this. And Lexi, I'm going to read to you some of these books. And so she's loved it. We're almost through the 16-piece collection. And right now we're reading Danny, Champion of the World. And it's great too. And she wants to chat after we're done reading as well, similar to your daughters. And
Yeah, it does something to their brain.
I'll take that as long as possible. Have that
My
interaction.
daughters, you know what the ultimate insult is if I'm mad at them, if I call them Veruca Salt.
Oh, yeah. From Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you start doing that, man, if you start getting bratty on me, I'll call you Veruca Salt, and they immediately know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm planning on getting, it's not the same author, but Summer of the Monkeys by, what was his name? Wilson Rawls, I think. Have you read Summer of the Monkeys?
Never heard of it. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, I loved it it might be a little bit still too old for my 7-year-old, but it's a fantastic book. So I'm planning on getting that one next and reading that to my daughter after we're through with the series. But I don't want to alienate our chat here. We've got a question from Osnola Ibax who says, "Hi Jeffrey, is the new Willard still your signature watch?"
Okay, here's the Willard. I'm going to make a Bruce Williams exclusive announcement on the Bruce Williams channel. The Willard is my current signature watch. I love the style, but I'm giving it a grade, and I'm going to give it a B plus on Bruce Williams channel, a B plus, because the lume is mediocre. It's not as good as the monster, the sumo, my MM200s, which are amazing. Not tuna, forget it. Tuna
Yeah.
is
Tuna's the best.
Tuna. You're in the once you get the tuna, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So the other problem is the bracelet's a little bit rattly. So for my signature watch, because I'm a nerd, I sleep with my watches. I have to be able to sleep with it and be confident that I can see the lume when I wake up at 3 a.m. So I have a prediction to make on Bruce Williams. I may be buying the Seiko SBDC 125. And if the lume on that is as good as my SBDC 065, which I'm thinking it will be, I'm assuming it will be, it may unseat the Willard as my new signature watch. Bruce Williams may be getting the SBDC 127, the darker blue dial.
Yes.
And because I am so diseased by my watch obsession, I may end up getting the blue dial too, and and I'll be miserable. I don't want to talk about it, but anyways. So Willard is amazing style, amazing comfort, with two weaknesses, which I feel betrayed when I spend $1,300 and the bracelet rattles and the lume is that mediocre. I almost feel like Seiko slapped me around a little bit. It hurts.
Yeah. Well, and you've also mentioned this recently on your channel that you feel that the best Seikos, or at least the ones you're most interested in, are kind of right around that $1,300, $1,200 price area. And the more I've thought about it, that's kind of what I agree with too. I think, I like a good monster that's, well, right. When we started getting into Seiko, they were like $200, but now they're like $500, $600. I don't like
Yeah.
the
The
design
new
as
one's
much.
cheap, right? Isn't the new one 300? The new one with the 40-hour reserve movement?
That might be the going rate, but I think it's a little bit more.
Oh, because
Yeah.
I remember the ones that I had that I sold on Random Rob's channel. I had the all stainless versions, the incarnation before the current one with a 50-hour reserve, and I sold. I don't miss them that much. I mean, I know they're iconic and they deserve to be. I'll tell you what, those scalloped bezels, woo, they were dirt magnets.
Yeah.
You better get a nice fine soft brush and be prepared to wash those every day.
But there's nothing else like it, though. I mean,
No, it's great. No,
the design. When I first saw it, I thought it was the ugliest watch I'd ever seen,
yeah, I
which
never
is,
I never disliked. I always loved it. Do you have
yeah,
one?
not anymore. No, I don't anymore. Uh,
Bruce, I heard you say something on your channel. I
what's
heard you
that?
say, I am Seiko-less.
I am. I said, okay, so this, let me tell you what happened here. I was all
Okay.
about, well, I still am in this phase, and maybe I go out of it, maybe I don't, but I
Yeah.
love the minimalism. I love simplifying. I went from like a dozen watches. I sold most of them. And right now I have three, and I've got that one Seiko, when it's released in Japan in a few days, that's coming to me. So I'll have four here real soon.
Okay.
But I love it. I love having a minimal collection. And
Me too. Me too.
yeah. So sadly, all the Seikos have been axed. And I'm Seiko less right now, but I'll be having a Seiko. I'll be remedying that pretty soon. And there are a couple other ones I want to try, like the one you're wearing today. I think looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think the 143, which is the 62 MAS design.
Can I make a premiere exclusive announcement on the Bruce Williams channel?
You bet, man.
The Seiko you just mentioned, the crown is at 3 o'clock. Am I correct?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make an exclusive announcement on the Bruce Williams channel. I have 0 Seiko watches with a crown at 3 o'clock. They're all at 4 o'clock, and they will always be at 4. Any watch I get from Seiko in the future will always. I hate Seikos with 3 o'clock crowns. Exclusive on Bruce Williams.
So I'm guessing you don't have what was it, the 053, or you had the 53 and the 51, right?
Don't like that 3 o'clock crown destroys everything. I don't know what it is. I get OCD about it.
Yeah.
Right now, the best Seikos for under $1,000 are the SBDC 061, the
Okay.
black one, and the blue. I have the blue. I have the cyan blue one.
Yeah. That's the prettiest one too.
If you're looking for an everyday watch for under 1,000, the SBDC 061 is still being made. It's still being sold. The 065 costs a little bit more, about $100 more.
Yeah. And that one is one of the few Seikos that actually have real applied markers. I think most of them at that price point, they're printing the lume on a metallic disc or rectangle, and it just is not the same. And maybe that's why the lume is so great on the 061, is because it's the real deal. And
That's great to know.
Yeah, and it's one of the, I think, best fitting Seikos out there, even probably more so than the beloved SKX.
The 061 and my 065 is far more comfortable than the 051 and 053.
Yeah.
Oh, much more comfortable. And the Willard's very comfortable. It's called why is it called a cushion case? What's that?
It's just because the case is really fat and it has area to get dinged around, I guess.
Okay, super comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, my neighbor loves this watch. He ended up seeing it on me while I was taking out the garbage, and he bought a green one.
I love it. That's awesome, man. You're getting someone else into the hobby.
Bought it, man. Well, no, believe me, he's into it. He's got a Rolex. He's got the whole.
Okay.
But he bought a Seiko Sumo, the ice silver dial one, everything.
Yeah.
He's
cool.
into it, man. So
I'd like to ask. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I had nothing.
I wanted to ask you, Jeff. We mentioned Hardlex Crystal, and oh man, we went Sapphire, and it's Hardlex. You know, it's a little thing. Honestly, are you bothered by Hardlex?
I am. I have two amazing Seiko tunas, the 031 and the 033.
Yes.
The 031 is stainless steel, and then the 033 is the all Diashield polish
Yeah.
And
That stainless bezel.
I've been tempted to sell them both and get the new SBBN 045 with the sapphire. Just I am offended by Hardlex.
Have you noticed, maybe I'm just imagining this, but it seems like Hardlex is clearer and has less reflections than the sapphires that are used on some of the, the current references like you're wearing.
Yeah.
I almost like the look of Hardlex more, even though it's an inferior material when it comes to scratch resistance. Am I crazy?
That's a great point. Raven watches, they used to have the Benares name, but they sold Benares.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a moire that had some sort of a acrylic. It was an acrylic material.
Okay.
And it gave the watch this very pleasant magnification and distortion. Now, I personally am very uncomfortable with acrylic because it can scratch.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And then one of my favorite dudes on YouTube, he doesn't have a channel, but his name is Lee. And he had a tuna and he told me he scratched it.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I love his comments are great too. They're really well
he's
thought
a
out.
very thoughtful collector, and I love that dude. And he did tell me that his tuna scratched. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Bruce. I don't do rigorous activities with my tunas, so I don't anticipate scratching them. And now that you're telling me that my Hardlex is going to give it a certain look, I should just keep them. I shouldn't get all bothered and sell them and then get the new 045. It's not going to really be a very wise move on my part.
The new tuna I've been tempted by because of the sapphire and the fact that they went back to like the circular markers that they were so well known for the previous like 2 generations ago.
Oh, so the markers are actually bigger.
Yeah, and the handset is a little bit more ornate, because the tunas that you have the big pointer handset, which I think is really legible, but I don't know. There's something about it. Almost looks Grand Seiko-esque to see like the more ornate hands of the 2 generation old tuna, and that's what the new one has. But they took off Marine Master off of the dial, which I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Is the Prospect X on it or something?
Yeah, they just put the X on it. Yeah, they've taken the Marine Master off everything.
People who go to my channel, they always complain about that Prospect X.
Yeah. Well, I've been told it's actually a P and an S kind of crossing each other for professional series. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to take a second look at that tuna now that you're getting me all excited. See, I want to tell you something, Bruce. I've taken a hiatus of watch buying in August, and I have some bad news for your viewers. You ready for some bad news?
Break it.
This hiatus has done nothing to help me in my addiction. It's disgusting.
Has it made it worse?
I'm ready to go buy 5 watches right now. It's disgusting.
So instead of like buying one watch a month, you just want to buy 5 at the end.
It's disgusting. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's just and can I tell you one other piece of bad news that's related to this? There are 2 Seikos that I mentioned to you, the SBDC 025 and 027. You're going to get the 027. And then there's a Citizen Suno Racer in titanium it's black dial, not the green dial one, but it's now selling in the United States with a black dial. And I was looking at the cost of getting those 3 watches, Bruce, and I said, don't get these 3. Why not? Why don't you get the MM300 and the blue dial? But then that's not going to take away my love of the SBDC 125 and 127. And then I realized it doesn't matter what I do. I'll be miserable either way. It's disgusting.
So what you're going to end up doing is buying 5, and then after a while you'll sell them, and then you'll get the Marine Master, and after a while you'll sell that, and it's on to something else, right?
No, and I'll get the 5 again, and I'll go back and forth. No, I swear to God, materialism puts you on a treadmill of problems for which there is no resolution. That's materialism. That's why when I talk to you, I have to be able to laugh at myself.
Well, we are really silly in this hobby for sure. I mean, if we take a step back and look at what we obsess over and how many, like I've bought the Marine Master 300. I've had 4 of them. It's so silly. It's so
I had
silly.
9 sumos.
Oh, I love it too. Yeah,
I've
I think
had
I've had
about,
like 3 sumos. Yeah.
yeah. I talked a guy, he told me he's bought and rebought the tuna 12 times. I'm
That's a
telling
lot.
you, rebuy is a common problem in the watch community.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done
Rebuy
that a
and
couple times.
you know what my wife tells me, Bruce? She goes, Jeff, you're spinning your wheels. Stop spinning your wheels.
What does she think of the watches that you have? Like, does she think they're pretty? Does she like them? Does she laugh at you? What's her
She said, they all
reaction?
look the same to me, buddy. They all look the same.
That's exactly what my wife says too. She says that looks like the last one you showed me.
And then we have a rule in my house. Don't talk about them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I don't
My
care what you do. I'm glad you have a channel. I'm glad you have friends. Bruce Williams is totally cool. Rob is cool. I don't want to hear about watches.
my 7-year-old, because I get sent watches, some from viewers, some from brands, some from dealers to present. And I'll usually show my 7-year-old because she's excited when the mailman comes. And
Yeah.
she always asks me a question. Are you keeping that or do you have to send it back? Every time. And most of the times I'm like, you know what? I'm sending it back. And if it's one of my own, I tell her, well, it's mine, but I'll probably end up selling it at some point. So
Yeah. You
all
know, my
watches
daughter,
seem to go
you know,
ahead.
your buddy, Mark Goldberg,
Yeah. Oh, I love Mark. Yeah,
he
he's awesome.
told me to take a flashlight and shine it on my watch before I go to bed it said to light it up. And so I do it now before I read to my girls and they see me do it. They go, Dad, are you serious? They're laughing at me. And now I can't stop doing it. I'm doing it all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Got
What
the
you need to
flash.
do is give them the flashlight. Say, here, you charge it up for me, and see if they get interested that way, right?
Yeah, they and then they see me looking at the loom as I get the book off the bookshelf. They because there's a mirror in Natalie's bedrooms. I'm ruined, buddy. My watch
Yeah.
obsession has ruined me.
So you did a video recently that I enjoyed, and I'm not sure if everyone here has seen it yet, watching this stream, but you talked about the question of why do we get obsessed with watches? You know, what's the draw? And you had 2 different theories of why we get so obsessive. I'd
Yeah.
love for you to share those theories and we can kind of talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first one, I remember a psychologist, a practicing therapist, he put a comment on it, goes, "Oh yeah, that's what it is." The general reason why we obsess with watches is that it is a substitute for addressing a lot of real life problems that are just way too overwhelming and difficult to meet head on. You know, sometimes it's easier to fret and obsess. When my watch obsession was at its worst, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a party at my in-laws' house, and
Okay.
I had a journal like this. I keep a journal with me, and I
Awesome.
was sitting in a corner. I wasn't talking to anyone. That there was like 3 dozen people at this event, maybe 4 dozen people, and I was writing a list of the watches that I was going to keep in my collection, the ones that I was going to sell, and the ones that I wanted to get, and how I could get my collection under double digits. And I was really upset, like I was planning an operation on a patient, like I was an orthopedic surgeon, like I was sweating,
And
and
tell
I
me,
had a problem.
did you have the prices listed, like how much you could get for the ones you were going to sell and
I
how much?
had a general notion. It was, Bruce, for me, this isn't about money. This is about my sanity. If I could buy a green Hulk right now, and that would be my signature watch, and I would be done. Yeah, I love the green Hulk. The green Hulk. Tell the viewers, the green Hulk's 40, but it plays bigger.
It does. It does. It's
Oh,
this maxi case with the fat lugs. It's like a
see, we even got
41.
a name for it. Maxi case. You heard that on
Yeah.
the Bruce Williams channel. Maxi case. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. For me, this is not about money. This is about sanity. I don't know. And then it's about endless curiosity. I want to. We all want to live. None of us wants to pass away.
Yeah.
And we all want to live for a lot of reasons. We want to be with our family. I want to see my girls grow up as much as possible, but I also want to live for a lot of weird, stupid reasons. I want to know what about the next season of Mandalorian? I want to be
Yes.
around for the next season. What you know what I mean? What about the next Seiko MM200? What's that going to be like? What's the new tuna or monster going to be? I'm just curious. I have endless curiosity, and I don't want to be left out.
Fear of missing out. Well, I really liked what you're talking about. So we want to distract ourselves with more frivolous things to kind of lighten the heavy, real problems that face us in our lives. Is that the
Yeah,
gist of what you were saying?
yeah. I mean, watches. I think all of us, we are like 5-star generals at war with our watch obsession, and we have that giant, those movies where there's that glass wall with the little tanks magnetized on the wall and the flags, and you're plotting your course, and we're sweating, and we're it's like as if it was a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
It's insane. And yet, I think we're addicted to that intensity.
Do you think it comes down to a little bit of personal insecurity as well? Like,
I have so much insecurity, I don't even know where to begin. I mean,
yeah,
life is pretty scary.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
You
And it
know,
makes us feel good about ourselves when we get something that makes us happy, that we get excited about, and we want to charge our loom. We want to hear the bezel. And it's a distraction, but it's also something that kind of satiates us a little bit or placates us to a degree.
yeah, a little kid, man. When I was a kid, I would send in 5 box tops of Captain Crunch, and I'd get a submarine in the mail, and I'd wait for it every day. I'd wait for it in the mail. And here I am waiting for the UPS, FedEx, DHL person
Yeah.
to drop off something. It's a form of for I don't go to massage places or spas, but I guess getting a watch is sort of like a spa treatment for my self-esteem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then but by the way, Bruce, I don't
Yeah.
think we would even be here in our watch madness without social media. Social media is keeping it alive.
Huge. Yeah. Because when we started, at least when I started, I got into watches about 10 years ago, and maybe before that a little bit. And I know you shared the same. I had Invicta days where I was so happy to buy these ridiculous, huge watches that look so silly on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was back in the day. I think what Watch You Seek was just a forum, wasn't a ton of people on it. There were watch magazines that had wider range of people viewing them than anything on a blog, I think, at the time. And now with social media, with Instagram, certainly with YouTube, yeah, it's exploded. It's huge. And I'm an enabler with all that I produce with content. And I don't know. It's kind of fun though.
No, it is fun, and it's so early in the experiment. We are rats in an experiment in this whole social media thing, and it's so early. We don't even know what the effects of it is. For one thing, I want to say about social media is that whether you're into watches or technology or cars or whatever it is you do, social media has become this way where people define their relevance in the world and their self-worth, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And that, to me, how do you measure the power of social media? How do you even underestimate or overestimate its power? If we're not doing watches, we're as human beings, we all want validation and we all want to
Yeah.
feel a certain relevance. And a lot of people are, lonely, and they're getting angry in their little social media world. And it's really important to have community. One of my favorite shows, Bruce, is the Taco Chronicles on Netflix. They go to different parts of Mexico, and they look at different types of tacos:
Oh,
barbacoa, carnitas,
sweet.
carne asada. And I
Yeah.
love the show. It's like a love letter to Mexico. And one thing I noticed, the taqueros at the taco stands, the taquerias, they're not making a ton of money, right? They're just regular dudes, right? But guess
Yeah.
what? They're held in high esteem, high respect. they're giving the nectar of the gods, and the people are standing around these taco stands and they're all laughing and they all have this sense like we're all in this world together. We're all together and we're all loving, the taco is mom, it's madre, it's abuela, it's life. The taco, they eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and they look good. And I think social media becomes a substitute for a lot of lost connections in society.
Yeah.
And a fragmented and often too angry society. Another thing I would say about watch channels, it's like your channel, and I try to do too, it's a way of bringing people together rather than fighting and bickering about stuff. Which is why I don't even converse with people who go, you got to have this watch, you got to have the Rolex, you got to have the Omega, you got to have this. I don't want to get into this dogmatic absolutism with people.
I struggle with that a little bit because, I'll talk about a watch that I really like. Most of the watches that I feature, that I spend time to film, I genuinely like. And it's inevitable that they're kind of picked apart in the comment section. Like, oh, yeah, it's good, but it needs to be $500 less. Or if it only had this or that. And then I almost feel like I have to get defensive because I like this watch I just presented. Yeah. And then these viewers are harshing on it, and I just need to step back.
I have a theory, Bruce. I think a lot of viewers who do that, they're the same people and they're unhappy, they're malcontented, and social media is a vestibule. It's a repository for their frustration. And it gives them a sense of empowerment to be able to divulge, some vituperation, some catharsis, to just unleash their annoyance with things. They're mad at the world.
Yeah.
In contrast, you take someone like Lee, the guy that we like, the thoughtful Lee.
Super thoughtful.
You can tell he's a thoughtful person, who, and by the way, Lee, I don't think Lee would mind telling you this, Bruce. He retired from his job. I think he worked at Apple.
Okay.
Computer. He retired. He went to New Mexico, and rather than just sit around and watch TV, first thing he did, he had zero experience in this. He joined a volunteer search and rescue unit.
Oh, that's awesome.
At the age of 61.
Good for him.
That's to me, if I had to describe Lee, that's Lee.
Yeah. He's
not the guy who's spending hours in his pajamas drinking beer, putting malcontented comments on your channel.
It kind of brings up the point is we're always comparing ourselves to other people with social media, and that can be really dangerous, especially if we gain our self-esteem by where we measure up comparatively to other people, because there's always going to be somebody else that has a cooler collection, a more expensive collection, more rare watches, or they seem to be happier or more content with their collection. So I think it can be very dangerous to play that comparison game on social media. And I think it's human nature that we do it to a degree.
Yeah. You know what my daughters do? They go, Dad, Bruce Williams has 90,000 subscribers. You have 6. What's going on, Dad? Step up your game, Dad. So,
you know what? I hope everybody watching this, either the 100 and some people here live or the thousands that watch this later, you should be subscribed to Jeff if you haven't. Jeff should be higher than me. Yeah. So tell your daughters I said that.
Bruce, I gotta tell you, I'm a terrible marketer for myself on social media. I've never made a video where I go, hey guys, if you like the content, subscribe down there.
And hit the bell icon.
I don't even want people to be on my channel unless there's some value to it for them. If you want to go to another channel and look at dogs and gorillas and shark attacks, do what you got to do. I'm not going to beg for people to look at my videos or subscribe. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Well, you're like a good kept secret, your channel. So if more people have some exposure, whether they stick around or not, I hope they get the opportunity to really spend a few hours and listen to some of your rants and thoughts and maybe a few piano pieces. I think that'd be awesome.
No, true. I just think social media is a place for your voice to be heard. Like if you publish a book, you may have more people listening to your video vlog essay in 1 hour than people would buy your book if you got it published after 2 years of editing and a publishing house and everything.
Yeah.
So social media is really a game changer.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you know if Lee, going back to Lee, do you know if he majored in English or anything? Because
I don't
he
know. I
really,
think he worked in technology. He was a upper echelon Apple worker. I didn't ask him,
huh,
but he may just be a Renaissance man
yeah,
with really good writing and tech skills who decided retirement for him was joining a volunteer search and rescue.
yeah.
You got to
I,
respect that, man.
I love how he wants to stay busy and engage with something awesome, something worthwhile, has real meaning and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, that's going to keep him happy for much longer if he's just sitting around watching football, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever made a watch video that got a ton of traffic and it just gave you this overwhelming surprise and joy
Yeah.
and wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I have actually. Yeah.
I think you have a Grand Seiko review with like 1 million views.
Yeah, it was an unboxing, and it's kind of funny because it was the first time I bought a Grand Seiko, and I was so excited about it. And I got it in. I'm like, okay, I got to film my unboxing, and I showed it off, and I was really wowed by it. And then, it's just a whim. I'm like, maybe I'll dance around with my 7-year-old, who I think was like 3 or 4 at the time. So I just danced around to some music, and I put it together. I'm like, should I even post this? This is so silly. But I ended up posting it, and I don't know why, but it's my most popular video. And yeah, it's like 1,100,000 people watch me geek out about a Grand Seiko and then dance around like a fool.
Yeah, and I didn't even know Grand Seiko got that much attention. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't
Yep.
know. Is it got caught in the algorithms or something?
Yeah, because I've never understood why videos get seen. I made a video about my Invicta days, and I
Uh,
didn't really want to make it. I made it 5 years ago. I go, this is depressing. This is embarrassing, but I do have something to say about this. So I just sat down and I talked about my days when I bought those, and then it's had over 100,000 views. And one thing I will say about that video, though, the unlikes are almost as high as the likes.
you triggered the Invicta fans right now that are currently in the market, right?
Oh, I got in trouble.
Well, we are coming up at almost an hour. So I'd like to ask anybody in the chat right now that are watching this live, if you have a question or a topic that you'd like Jeff and I to talk about real briefly as we wrap up the stream, please go ahead and put it in the chat. Maybe we'll take 1 or 2 if there's some interest in doing that. But as you guys are typing and considering a question, I just want to thank you, Jeff, for coming on. I love watching your content. I like told you before, I identify with what you do, and I appreciate you coming here, making some time on a Saturday in the bunker down there to stream with me. It means a lot. And if I'm ever out there in Southern California, I'd love to have a healthy, wholesome meal with you sometime. I think that'd be great.
Absolutely. And it was my pleasure to do this. And it was very important for me to have a little bit of social occasion with you today because my city, Los Angeles, we're on serious lockdown. And I'm afraid that when the lockdown is over, all my social skills will have deteriorated. And it's good to have an occasional. You remember in World War II, there were Japanese soldiers who were in the caves and they didn't know the war was over?
Yeah.
That's me. That's me. I'm not leaving the cave. So I gotta get out of the cave a little bit with Bruce and others, just so when the lockdown's over, I can really go into the sunshine.
Did you see that movie? Oh man, it's an older movie, and I think it had what was his name? Lee Marvin, I think. And it was an American and a Japanese. They crash landed on this Pacific island, and they didn't know the war was over, and they kept fighting each other, just one man versus one man. Did you ever see that movie?
Familiar. That sounds amazing. What
I can't remember the title. I'll have to look that up.
Google it. I'll find it.
Yeah,
That's
I think
fascinating.
it'd be a good one.
I got to leave the cave, man.
Yeah, we've got a couple questions here.
Okay.
Let's start with Dylan, who says, Jeffrey, you ever try the G-Shock Bling Master? I love mine.
No, I've never had it. I've heard about it. I think it's on Rob's channel, is it?
Yeah, Robert loves it. I've had it too. It's just a G-Shock square in metal, and you can get it in silver tone or gold tone, and it's a really enjoyable watch. Digital and everything, but really fun. So maybe Rob will send you one because he has like 10. I bet you he'd want to send one for you to check
I want
out.
to tell Dylan something. Hamilton has a G-Shock like watch with a digital readout. It's like a square. It looks crazy interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It,
talking about?
yeah, and it has like the red light up on the gold tone, and it's all brushed, and it's
I
like
would love to see you
70s.
review it. It's cool.
I'll
And I
see.
think
I'll see if I can get one in. That'd be awesome.
Dylan might have to check it out. I think it's called the P something. It's just got like a couple letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Craig says, "What happened to the red Tommy Hilfiger shirt you were going to wear for this live stream, Jeff?"
Great question. So I'm doing an hour talk, and I got to tell Craig something. I don't do well when I'm warm. It makes me tired. I can't be too cozy. I can't wear too many layers of soft, fuzzy, cozy clothing because I'll get really sleepy. And so to have the energy not to be boring, I have to just wear a t-shirt. But I love that sweatshirt. It's soft, and it was cold this morning when I made that video, but it's 75 degrees in LA in the afternoon. What are you
You
going
can't
to
be
do?
wearing that. Yeah.
Can't do it, man.
There's another one here from CFZ. When did you guys decide to give devices screens to your daughters? Interested to
Too
hear the
early.
dad
Too
advice.
early. It's child abuse. Don't do it. My girls had iPads when they were in 2013, so they were 3, but we did limit the time.
Good.
Now they have Chromebooks. Chromebooks destroyed iPad because the educational, the schools, they realized early on that wait a minute, a good iPad's 1,000. I can get a Chromebook for 300. So Chromebook destroyed Apple in the education space. Just to let you guys know.
Yeah.
Just
We have
clear.
a couple iPads, but yeah, we have to monitor, and we'll have to be in the room, and they can only have a certain amount of time before they have to get off.
Oh, I have apps on my phone. I can kick them off on my phone.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know when, but I'm not looking forward to the day when my daughter will need a cell phone,
That's a
And
big controversy in our house because my
yeah,
daughters know fifth graders who have them, and we said no.
yeah.
Nope.
I hear there's a phone out that you can only call and you can only text, but it looks like a smartphone, so kids don't pick on you. But you can't get online, you can't get on Instagram, you can't download apps. It's only calling and texting. And I think that's
Can I tell you
actually
guys something? I'm a college writing instructor. All of my students will tell you this. All of them. I have a phone and it's hurting my college success. It's wasting my time. I know it and I can't stop it. All of my students will tell you that. Just remember that. They know it's a disease and they can't get off of it.
huh.
I was helping a student with her paper she brought her laptop to class, and I was editing her manuscript, showing her how to edit it. And while I was editing it, in 5 minutes, I received 12 notifications. I said, "Turn these off. I'm going to go crazy." You know what I mean? She was getting all these social media. No. All these things popping. Get that off. I can't. My OCD went into overkill, man.
Yeah. Well, it's different. I mean, I know you're a little bit older than me, but my first cell phone, I think I was 19 or 20 by the
Yeah.
time I got one. And I'm glad I didn't grow up in a social media age, where I'm comparing myself to my peers and stuff. It's tough. I think the next generation, they got a lot to fight through.
I think we have existential concerns in social media. How do we define the relevance of our soul if we only have 14 followers or subscribers on some social media thing? And what about all the miserable people I personally know who have successful YouTube channels with 500,000? I know a few people who have millions of subscribers and they're not doing so well in their personal life.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
They're car crashes. You can curate a very nice, polished existence on your YouTube channel, but you could be a dumpster fire in real life. That happens
Yeah.
a lot. I see that a lot with a lot of. I could tell you so many stories. I know a couple who just their whole life is doing Instagram shots of each other working out at the gym,
Oh, man.
and they have 500,000 followers. But I know they fight, and I know they're dysfunctional, and I know they live for the next attention fix from their Instagram channel. My
That's
wife knows
wild.
them. I don't really know them. My wife tells me about
Yeah.
it. That
Wow.
happens a lot. You can lose, you can gain the whole world and lose your soul, man.
I saw this picture recently. It was a shot looking at a mirror, and in the mirror was an apple, and it looked beautiful. But because of the camera, you could see the apple in front of the mirror, and the whole back of it was like all carved out, like someone had been eating it. So what people are seeing is this pristine, beautiful apple, but the backside is all eaten away.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a little bit those people you were talking about that are presenting this fabulous life, but in the back, it's a crap
Yeah.
show.
But to be optimistic, I also want to give credit to you and people who are successful, because a lot of people like you are successful because you're connecting with a lot of people. It is validation of your relevance. I'll give you an example. One of my favorite channels is called Unbox Therapy.
Uh-huh.
I think he's a Canadian gentleman. I think his name is Lou. And he talks a lot about tech, phones, laptops, and stuff. And my wife was asking me, because not only do I watch his YouTube channel, I listen to his podcast. And I told my wife, the guy's just so smart and so authentic and just so talented. I just like hanging out with him. He may be talking about a smartphone that I'm not really that interested in for an hour on his podcast, but he's just naturally funny, and I want to be around smart people.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
I'm not here to be sour grapes. If someone's successful, like I believe Unbox Therapy has 10 million subscribers.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and David Lee has a few million. David Lee's another Canadian who does tech. But my point is, have you seen Fitness and Strength?
Uh-uh.
That dude hit 1 million. He just talks about bodybuilding and powerlifting. He's great. He's just got this down to earth voice. Have you seen Mark Wildman's kettlebell workouts?
I haven't.
Mark Wildman is a scientist with kettlebell workouts. And I remember when I followed him less than a year ago, he had about 20,000 subscribers. He's over 100,000 now, and he
Wow.
deserves it. He breaks down the movement. He shows you how to avoid injuries. He's wonderful, Mark Wildman. But my point is, a lot of people have great personalities, great content, and they're connecting with people, and their success is legit.
I think that's the reason why I really enjoy listening to Joe Rogan.
I listen to him, yeah.
I don't know how many millions of subscribers or listeners he has
And
on his
over 10
podcast.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And he just sits down and has a frank conversation with someone. And even if I don't know who that person is, I want to sit down and listen to what they have to talk
I
about.
agree with you.
Super enjoyable.
No, I mean, he said my show was me just chillaxing with my buddies, and it was fun. And I never wanted that element to be lost. I never wanted to try to plan how to be successful. And then I do these 3-hour conversations where things you go different places when you talk for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Than when you talk for like 45 minutes. And there's a certain honesty and spontaneity and freedom of thought. And I don't hold him accountable for everything he says. He's talking for 3 hours. You're bound to slip
Big
and not.
time.
You're not going to necessarily have your A game when you're talking for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy his conversations. And you know what, Bruce? We all miss the life. We all want to hang out for 3 hours and have a good, authentic discussion and go to the fire and tell stories.
Yeah.
And so I have to assume during the lockdown, Joe Rogan's more popular than ever.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And your channel too. I mean, people want to go to the fire. People want to hear the real stuff. People don't want to be BS. People want to hear the real stuff about watches or what Joe Rogan's talking about or whatever your content is. People want to know the real stuff. People don't want some curated phony thing, man.
They don't want the fluff.
They don't want the fluff. They don't want fanboy, Seikos. I mean, here I am. I'm not a true Seiko fanboy because I just told you Willard kind of betrayed me in a couple ways.
Rattly bracelet, not great loom.
Oh, the agony. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I think we should cut it here. I
Yep.
really appreciate it. It's been awesome to chat with you. I mean, can't thank you enough. It's been great. So thanks for making some time.
I learned a lot, Bruce, listening to you. You're smart, and I learned a lot today.
Thank you. Yeah, go check out Summer of the Monkeys.
I got it written down in my notebook.
It's a really enjoyable book. Really enjoyable. So,
all right, Bruce, all the continued success to you. Happy holidays to you and your family.
You as well. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys, man.